Hello, this is Gary at Jack Raven Bushcraft. This week I'm going to talk a little bit about using downy flower heads as a tinder. Last week I did a video around natural tinders, so ones that don't readily fit into any of the four headline categories, I should say. And at the start of that video I'd said that I'd done one previously on inner barks and outer barks and fungus, and I also said that I'd done one previously on downy flower heads. And when I got home again and had a look, turns out that I haven't. So I did do one actually about 18 months ago, just kind of collecting some downy flower heads, but not particularly talking about them as a tinder. So I thought I would just rectify that this week. Before I do so, of course I want to remind you of my kind of two rules that I have in place around tinders. So first up, don't wait until you need to light a fire before you collect your tinder. Do it as you find it, so be an opportunist about these things. And I'll talk about having tinder constipation because I can't pass a birch, which I know is a terrible joke. And often when I say it, people just kind of blank faces staring back at me. But what I mean is I can't pass a birch. I've got to stop, do a bit of picking. Second rule, or guideline maybe, is if you see something and you wonder if it'll make a decent tinder, well, give it a try. Take a lighter to it, see if it goes up. If it does, collect some more. Try it with fire steel, with a traditional flint and steel. Try it with a parabolic mirror, with a magnifying glass, all of those things. So kind of bear that up in mind. So as I said, this time around I want to talk about downy flower heads. Sometimes they might be described as a downy seed head as well. So what is a downy flower head or a downy seed head? So coming up now, in fact, the dandelions are all coming through. And so give it another few weeks, month or so, and the dandelions will start to form the little clock on the top. So it's the thing, you pick it and you give it a blow, and all of the kind of seeds disperse through the air. So that's a downy flower head. So it's a flower, a plant I should say, that produces something after it's flowered that looks a bit like a piece of cotton wool, really. So that's what we're talking about. Now I'm going to go through a few here, and as always these are just some things that I've collected up over the years. It is by far from an exhaustive collection. Now I think there's a case to be made for not necessarily having to know what species it is you're looking at. So if you find something and it looks like a kind of a bit like a cotton wool, then it's probably going to be useful to you as a tinder. And you don't need to understand what it's called. You don't necessarily need to understand what the plant is. Now me, I'm just kind of inquisitive, and I like natural history, particularly plants and trees, that kind of thing, and so I'm pretty much going to go out my way to try to find out what something is that I have. But as I say, it's not massively important. The key thing is that it's dry and has those properties, that it is cotton wool like in texture and consistency. Now when it comes to using a downy flower head in fire lighting, what I've found with the bulk of them is that they just kind of go fizz, and so you're going to struggle to light a fire just from downy flower heads. So where I tend to use them is in a tinder bundle, and so I've done videos previously on tinder bundles, so take a look at those to understand how you construct them and so on. And in fact I did one a few weeks ago. I did a video on using a bow drill to light a fire, and my ember went into a tinder bundle which I'd lined with downy flower heads. So that is where I use them. So in that kind of scenario, so tinder bundle built. I'm going to just kind of get my thumbs in there, make a little hollow, and then pack that out with the downy flower heads. There, it's acting as what is often referred to as an ember extender or a coal extender. So what it's doing is providing a little bit of extra body, if you like, a little bit of extra substance there for your fledgling ember. And especially if you've done fibre friction, your ember might be quite a delicate little thing, and you need to give it every possible chance that you can. And so, as I say, just packing it out with those downy flower heads makes a big difference. Now, downy flower head, as I said earlier, it's the seed dispersal mechanism, so it's the reproductive mechanism for, or part of the reproductive mechanism for many plants. So with that in mind, two things really. One, it means that it's seasonal. So and secondly, it means that we should forage our downy flower heads sustainably. So, you know, in any given place, maybe take from one from 10 plants, something like that. Leave the 9 behind, and then you can go back next year and collect again. So typically in the late summer, when these things are normally to be found, I collect up lots and lots and enough basically to keep me going for another full year, so that I've got a plentiful supply for running our courses. But if you miss it at that time of year, it's not always the end of the world, and I'll go through a few examples now where I'll kind of show some of that. Right, let me start off with what one? Let's start off with this, in fact. So thistles. So we're all aware what a thistle looks like, and this is what's left over once the thing is flowered. Now these are really good. I like thistle heads. There's a lot of bulk going on in there, so it's quite a compact thing. You do have to be a little bit cautious with the picking of them, of course, because there are thistles on there and you're going to get them stuck in your fingers if you're not careful. But I do like thistles. Another one of my favourites, rosebay willow herb, is in here. Now, rosebay willow herb grows along the lanes. It loves waste ground, that kind of area, and in fact after the Blitz in London, a lot of the bomb sites were covered in rosebay willow herb afterwards. So it's a tall plant. They're coming through already now. By the time we get through to August time, they'll probably be 6 foot tall. Little pinky purpley flowers in a flower stalk, so, and they're easy to pick. You just literally put your hand at the bottom, and you've got a big bundle of them. This one I particularly like because you often get the sepals as well, so I don't know if you can see that, but they're little woody bits in there, so they work particularly well. I've also got so Clematis. So this is a whole load of Clematis in here. Clematis I like because you can find this months and months and months later. So there are some spots around here that I know that are just kind of sheltered, just out of the wind, out at the bottom of hills, that kind of thing, and these can hang on to the plant for months and months and months afterwards. In fact, there's a couple of spots around here. I'm not going to tell anyone where they are, but there are a couple of spots around here where I know there are still Clematis downy flower heads available from last year. So that's 6-7 months ago, and they're still about. So as I said earlier, whilst they are seasonal, if you look in the right places, you can still kind of find some of these things most of the year around. This one, a little bit more troublesome. This is Ragwort in here. So it's this stuff. Ragwort has a very bad reputation amongst horse owning people and farmers, so it is toxic. It contains pyrrolizidine alkaloids, and so I did a little bit of looking into this and what potential harmful effects there could be from using it as a tinder. So first up, what I'd say on that point is regardless of what we're using as a tinder, to make the tinder bundle itself, whether it be hay or whether it be an inner bark or cleavers, whatever it might be, regardless of what that material we're using there, regardless of what downy flower heads we put in it to form our coal extender, we don't want to breathe the smoke in. That's our absolute first rule. Any of that smoke is bad for you to breathe in. So, it's why we position ourselves so that the wind is blowing onto our back, and it's why we move the thing off to one side when we take our in breaths and so on. So we're doing everything we can not to breathe in the smoke from a tinder bundle anyway. But when I looked up the toxicity of ragwort, as best as I can tell, the pyrrolizidine alkaloids that it contains need to be ingested and processed by your liver to be toxic. So as far as I could tell, the smoke from it is no more toxic than breathing in the smoke from anything else. With that said, I mean, I'll leave that up to you to decide whether that is something you would want to do. Now, if I had choice in the matter, so if I've got some ragwort over there, or I've got some nice thistles over, over this direction, or some nice rosebay willow herb, I'm going to go for the thistles. I'm going to go to the rosebay willow herb. If I was in a survival situation and my life depended on me being able to get a fire going, and the only thing I could find was ragwort, then I'm going to use ragwort, because the thing that's going to kill me next is the thing I need to deal with first, and if it's going to be I'm going to die of hypothermia if I don't get warmed up, then I'm going to go for it. So yeah, just kind of know that it's there, know that ragwort downy flower heads exist, and that they can be used, but probably put it down at the I'm only going to use it if I really need to category. What's this? This one, goat's beard. Just I'll show you that. It's just another kind of thistle. Then we've got this one. I like this one. This is cattail, sometimes called bulrush. So it's this stuff. It's your sausage on a stick, basically. That's got to grow in a pond. This stuff is really, really fine. Really fine. It just kind of blows all over, but it is absolutely awesome. So yeah, really good stuff to pick. Now, I started off by saying that downy flower heads are seasonal, and that is true, but we actually have 2 seasons, and we're about to hit the first one of this year. So we can also use Catkins. So these are from this is goat willow in here, goat willow catkins, and these will be coming out in the next I would go somewhere like maybe 4 to 6 weeks. We'll be seeing lots of the goat willow catkins. Poplar, they also produce something similar-ish. So we've got those 2 seasons basically. So we've got trees that are going to produce us catkins in the spring, and then we get our plants, flowers that are going to be producing them in the late summer. So hopefully guys, that is going to be useful to you. I will endeavour to get content out again next week. Things are starting to busy up a little bit for us now. We're kind of hitting the sort of start of our season. Hurrah! We're back to work again tomorrow for me. So I might not be able to keep up with the one a week. I shall try my best. Make sure that you don't miss out on any content though, so subscribe either to our blog or to our YouTube channel, and in the meantime, take care, stay safe.